Try to give a scene without using visual means. Describe your commute this morning. What did the train sound like? How did it feel to be jerked around by it? What did the platform smell like? Can you give these descriptions without visuals? No. Humans are wildly visual creatures. From a sciencey point of view, color vision permits distinctions between objects based on differences in the chromatic composition of reflected light. The human eye is especially keen at watching for dangerous animals and seeing fruit, that is to say, picking out motion and color detail. But what does that mean? We see things before we really see things. Our eyes pick up more than our brain can interpret, and so we're left to interpret what we've seen over periods of time that are many multiples longer than the thing we saw itself. Because of this fact, some of the largest impact from narrative is not from the words spoken, but from the images elicited. In the time of fireside stories and great orators, storytellers relied on strong description. The great Roman statesman Cicero would often speak in front of great statues or other landmarks in the form of visual storytelling, to add impact to his words. As history has progressed, there has been increasingly complex ways of adding a visual component to narrative, from the shadows of firelight to painted backdrops, stage set pieces. Paintings themselves tell a narrative entirely through visuals, even puppets. It seems that time and again, people have decided it's easier to tell a story with a visual aid than without one. If I were to tell a fisherman's tale, I wouldn't settle for saying I caught a big fish. Sure, that's technically the definition of the fish, but big by what standards? If I were to say that I caught a fish as big as my boat and twice as round, you surely wouldn't believe me, but that's only because you have a visual of my boat in your memory, and you have a visual of a fish in your memory, and you know that no fish could be as big as my boat or twice as round. All of that leads up to this guy, Evan Puchak. Now, look, essays aren't necessarily a narrative. They don't need a narrative arc. But essays are always a story about the subject, just inherently. If you're writing a simple, explanatory essay, you have to tell that subject's story. Here, think back to the first essay you ever wrote. 3 to 5 paragraphs, intro, conclusion, a hook, a thesis, blah, blah, blah. I wrote my first real essay in 7th grade. It was about Hurricane Katrina, and it probably looked something like this. We had to explain what the hurricane was, what happened, the aftermath, all that good stuff. It was a narrative. But this is what Katrina actually looked like.
Right on the coast. We got a big storm surge coming in now. Let's get submerged here.
And here's where Evan comes in. Evan is a video essayist, and you probably know him better by his voice.
Hanging from the young girl's waist, a similar claw was on the Cloveniers' coat of arms.
Or at least his YouTube handle. Evan represents an incredible subculture of YouTube of creators who pour their lives into incredibly well-researched essays that are supported by incredible visuals. Every Frame a Painting, Captain Christian, In a Nutshell, CGP Grey, Lessons from the Screenplay. There are just too many to name, but they're all doing the same thing, giving descriptions with visuals. What's a better elicitation of Katrina? This? Or this? You might be asking yourself, is this a video essay about a video essay? And, I mean, you're right, it is, in part. Video essays represent the next complexity in visual storytelling, and one that could affect all manner of industries, from video editing to journalism. As papers die and editors are seeking views, journalists have to ask themselves, what is the best way to tell the story? It might be 800 inches of text, and that's fine. But what else could it be? What lessons can we take from documentary filmmakers? More importantly, as humans, we have to ask ourselves, what is the best way to tell our story? We are wildly visual creatures. People like Cicero and Evan and all other great storytellers take this as fact. Not so much that it's impossible for narrative to lack visuals, but that the importance of narrative comes from visuals.